What's up, YouTube? Sergio Becerra II here again, and welcome back to my channel. So, last weekend, we heard about the arrest of YouTuber Jack Doherty. And let me just say this. Thank God he finally got what he deserved. But in the end, he's never going to learn a lesson from anything. So, let's get straight to the point. What led to his arrest in Miami, Florida was, well, knowing the little POS he is, well, we already know what the acronym POS stands for and how much of an entitled brat he is. As always, he always films content, whether on TikTok or on his YouTube channel, through his phone. What does he decide to do? Go in the middle of the street, right in front of a bunch of cops, and he said, I'm gonna do a video doing a duel, whatever duel he was thinking of doing, but he did it in front of a squad car, which he had a bunch of cops standing there, uh, just talking. They tell him you need to get back on the sidewalk, and knowing the entitled brat and little jerk he is, what does he tell him? After I film this video, I'm gonna do. They tell him again, please go back on the sidewalk after I'm done doing this video. So what happened? They arrested him because he flat out refused to do what they told him. They put him in cuffs. Then you got, well, knowing Jack, he has his own personal bodyguard. He gets like in between Jack and one of the officers. He's like, okay, I got him. I'll hold him. Let me hold him. Please don't do anything. Whatever. They back the guard off. They put him in cuffs. They search him. And lo and behold, they found drugs on him. And he's resisting arrest. From what I understand from hours after I had learned from what happened, uh, Jack had possession of a form of amphetamine, not methamphetamine, but a different type of amphetamine. I think someone said Adderall, if that's correct. And then he had more than 20 grams of marijuana on him. I'm not sure if pot's legal in Florida, but I think you can only have a certain amount, a legal amount of weed on you. But it said that he had more than 20 grams of pot on him. So that's like way over the legal limit of how much he can. And then, of course, like I said, resisting arrest. So that's what he's been charged with. 2 counts of unlawful possession of a controlled substance, which is this type of amphetamine and pot, and resisting arrest. Because when I looked at the TikTok videos, well, they're cuffing him. One officer has one cuff on him, and he still got his phone out, doing whatever. He's not doing what the officers are telling him whatsoever. So they end up arresting him. And then later on, he's been there for like 24 hours, which to me, 24 hours isn't enough. He should have gone 48 hours. And I would say, yes, he should stay there in even longer because he needs to have the fear put in him. Because he'll never learn anything. Because look, I barely watched some of his videos. I'm not a subscriber to him, but I've seen some. But he is just out of control with the stuff he does. And he is like fallen off. In other words, his views, his support is like starting to slip because he's out of control. He's done things in the past that would either get him arrested, which has happened to him already, or even worse, his life put at risk. And it's just out of control. And surprisingly, NBC News found out about this. Even saw the trucks, because I saw one of his later videos saying, oh, here's MSNBC out here knowing what happened. He was let out on on bail for $3,500, which because knowing him, he has the money to pay for it. Which I think he should not have been bailed out. He should have just sat in jail until he saw the judge. I know he's going to be doing court sometime soon, so let's see what happens because, from what I understand from others, he could look at prison time because of the drugs, or if this is his first offense, he could get probation, maybe forced to do some community service or whatever. Because knowing Jack, he don't care. I don't think he won't do anything. He still thinks he's entitled because the things I've learned from others that know Jack Doherty, that number one, he's arrogant. Number two, he's narcissistic. Number three, just because he's a well-known YouTuber, he thinks he's like entitled. He thinks he's got total entitlement, thinking he can do whatever he wants. Like the rule of law does not apply to him because he's a well-known YouTuber. Well, doesn't matter. He's a young kid who has not learned a lesson. He's been doing YouTube since he was a young teenager. I would say at least 13, because I've seen reaction videos from others talking about him, talking about some of his early work when he was like 13 years old. Like they were not like that big, not that serious, like out of control stuff back then. But he's already got out of control. But but this young kid in his 20s is never going to learn anything. And from watching other videos from other TikTokers, soon after he got arrested and put in the squad car, about to be taken away, what does his bodyguard say? All these officers that were right here, they were all hired for a prank that he was doing, which is a complete lie. He was told to get off the streets. His guard knew that. So he just decides to lie, saying this was all but a prank. Not if you have drugs on you. And speaking of his guard and the drugs, when the police found the narcotics on him, his guard, knowing a complete idiot he is, he's asking the officers, "Oh, can I just hold that for him?" "No, you can't." What does one of the officers say? "No, we can't let you hold on to this for him." That's evidence. And his guard was stupid enough to ask if he can hold the drugs for him. "Well, it's okay if I hold that for him." "No, you thought, like I said, as I quoted from the officer, no, we can't let you hold that for him." That's evidence. And I can't believe his guard was stupid enough to even ask to hold this stuff for him. That guard may be hired by Jack to be around him, but no, you can't be doing stuff like that, like holding evidence that Jack should have not have had in his possession. And shockingly, after being released from jail, I can't believe his fan base, all his fans that were aware of what happened hours after, they still support him. They even take photos with him. Like, yeah, you're out of jail. Like, not one of them, not even one person even bothered to tell him that what Jack did was like super wrong. Should have not been doing stuff on his phone, filming content in the middle of the street when the officers told him. And then, of course, you should have not had drugs on you, nor should you should be doing drugs. Not one of them. They don't care because it's Jack. They still support him. They still love him. They still adore him, which I don't know. I mean, content creators like this, ugh, they think they're so entitled and like Hollywood celebrities, like they don't care about the rule of law. Think that they can just do whatever the hell they want. That's the problem. And yet his fan base still gets behind him. Like I said, not one of them even bothered like telling what you just did was wrong. So let's see what happens in the coming days or weeks when Jack has to go back to court. Because what happened to Jack is like super serious. Like I said, he could face prison time or perhaps probation with doing community service, which I don't think he'll ever follow. And another thing, when you're on bail, and the thing is, you cannot leave the state of Florida, which where Jack is, and he cannot leave the country. And while you're on bail, you cannot do the following, such as drinking or going back on drugs. You mess up, you're going back to jail. I don't know if Jack will fall through, but this is a young kid in his 20s. Yeah, I still call, yeah, he may be an adult, but I still call him a young kid because this is someone that has not grown up. This is someone who got famous too young and doesn't even realize he has allowed fame to go straight to his head. Now, from what I've learned from others on YouTube, a lot of the stuff he does, like these pranks and other weird crap he does to annoy people, is like out of control. Like the second he does something, what does he do to prevent confrontation on him? Puts his bodyguard right in front of them so they can't touch him, knowing that Jack has crossed the line. He has crossed the line more than once, and this is like one line he did really cross. And like I said, there's no doubt he's never going to learn a lesson in anything. He's just going to go back to his ways. Now, I've seen one video in particular where you had like 5 guys who I've been following for 5 years now. They've done a reaction video talking about Jack and how out of control he is. At one part, they did mention that he and his parents managed to land themselves on a segment of Dr. Phil, talking about how out of control Jack is, because he does have support from his parents, but however, his mother is like one huge critic. One huge critic. I know, well, I kind of agree with the mother, but knowing he's going to get criticism from a lot of other people, including myself, that's going to criticize him to the as harsh as I can. I know he gets support from his father, but um, I would say this: what I just mentioned about him and his parents being on Dr. Phil, because Dr. Phil himself tried to get him to learn a lesson from other influencers, but Jack, as naive, stubborn, and again arrogant and narcissistic he doesn't want to learn anything. Because at one point, when during commercial break, his dad's trying to tell him, I just want you to learn a lesson from like other influencers that help you like turn things around. He's like, no, ain't gonna happen. No. That's what Jack's like, no, ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna do that. No. And you know what? I feel bad for both his parents, but however, I do kind of have to criticize them both because I don't think, not even once throughout Jack's life, they have not been hard on him, because his dad has said it's like difficult to punish him by taking away his video games and his computer because that's how he makes his money from YouTube. So even as a teenager, I'm kind of like disappointed, but like with the parents and have to criticize them. You should have at least been hard on him at least once, even more than once. But Jack, knowing Jack doesn't care, does what he wants. And another thing I found to be shocking from other YouTubers that have worked with Jack is that Jack also does content on OnlyFans, and they know it. And there, of course, there's proof of it already because his girlfriend did mention that he was going into the bathroom and doing some OF content. So that's proof. That's proof of the other things he does to earn money. And I would say, here's another thing. I know I've said this before. I said this a few months ago when I did a video talking about Diddy's trial. Is that people like Jack and celeb and other celebrities like Diddy, the Problem is that you don't. There are limitations. You gotta know your boundaries. There are limitations here, and not only that, it's people like Jack and other content creators, especially Hollywood celebrities that don't have a filter in their brain that's telling them that the stuff they're doing is like wrong. Like they don't know their limitations, and they don't know when to. They don't know to even realize they're doing stuff that is just wrong, and for Jack, it's just out of control. Jack, right now, he's already slipping, and it's already gotten to a point right now that if he does fall off completely, like getting canceled off of YouTube, and if he's forced to get like a regular job, it's gonna be like difficult for him to get a regular job because if employers look him up and see the kind of piece of crap he is, then he's gonna take like the biggest loss in life. But even if he were to bounce back by going back on YouTube again, I don't think no one will ever support him again because he's just a total menace right now. So, like I said, I don't care if you're a well-known celebrity, whether you're a celebrity within Hollywood or on YouTube. Um, there are limits, and you gotta know when not to do things that are wrong. But just because you got money, fame, doesn't mean you're special or you're above the law, etc. You got you got to know that there are boundaries you cannot cross. And for Jack, I don't think he'll ever learn a lesson from anything he does. So I'm glad he got arrested, but the problem is he'll never learn, no matter what. So I, so as of right now, I'm gonna say this to YouTube: if you're aware what's happened to Jack already, I think it is time to do the right thing. It is time to pull the plug and shut down his channel. It is time for Jack Doherty to be canceled completely. He needs to be canceled because he can't go on like this forever. So it's time for Jack to be taken down from YouTube for good because he can't continue doing this forever. I don't care what. I, well, look, I don't care what he does on his channel, but he's crossed one line after the next, and him getting arrested for drugs and resisting arrest, that should have been a total. That's another big line he has crossed totally. And the one thing I will, another thing I have learned from others who have talked about him, uh, there have been other YouTubers that have gotten themselves canceled for way lesser things, but Jack has done the worst. He's done the worst things on his channel and even off camera, especially what he did in Miami over the weekend by filming content in the middle of the Miami streets when right in front of cops when they told him to get off the street, get back on the sidewalk, and he flat out ignored them. Didn't care, still thinks he's entitled to do whatever the hell he wants. So yes, again, I don't care if you're a celebrity from Hollywood or if you're a content creator on YouTube or whatever, on any platform, you're not special. You're not above the law. And don't think that the rule of law doesn't apply to you because you're well known throughout the internet. It doesn't matter. Now, here's the thing. I myself a content creator, but I'm not huge like Jack and others. What I do is educational. Uh, and not only that, clean. I'm not like others. I know there was a third thing I wanted to add involving what I do here. Educational, simple, and clean. Yeah, that's it. Educational, simple, and clean. That's what I do here, but I'm not huge like Jack for the nonsense he does. But you know what? Another thing, I did think about this a long time ago that I wanted to do a series on calling on the cancellation of some YouTubers. Jack is like so far the first one as of right now that he needs to be canceled. Because I know for a fact he has collaborated with others like Neon, another punk kid that's always getting stuff into trouble. And then, of course, you got Nikocado Avocado, but since everything he did was planned, I'm not going to write about him anymore now that he's changed. But those like Jack Doherty and Neon, they need to be canceled. Uh, now, another thing I did learn while scrolling through TikTok and seeing more videos about Jack. I know this is crazy, but if you have TikTok, look this up because there was one video posted by not by Jack but someone else that you got Jack Doherty and one of the Island Boys. They're in their boxers and they're going into a closet, and you got both of them yelling at the camera guy, "Get out! We're doing something here." And whatever it was they're doing in their underwear in a closet, ugh, only God knows what. Look it up. If you have TikTok, look it up. Jack Doherty and one of the Island Boys in a closet. Because I've seen it. And like I said, whatever they were doing, God knows what. And I don't even want to know. So yeah, Jack needs to be taken down completely. And I'm not demanding, but simply asking YouTube to like simply shut down his channel completely because he has crossed the line. He needs to be put to a stop, and it has to happen now. And Jack, he, he's young, so he's got all this time to learn his lessons. But I don't think he will, because think about it. By the time he's a lot older, like within his 30s and 40s, who knows if he's going to change? But I don't know if he ever will because he's just out of control. So that's it right there. Let's see what happens in the coming days and weeks of what happened of what's going to happen to Jack. I don't know, involving his arrest. So tell me what you think. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell for future updates. And tell me what you think about this uh, arrest of Jack Doherty. All right, that takes care of that. Hope to see you soon. Take care now. Bye.